The oppressive humidity of an Atlanta summer morning pressed against Lena's skin as she stepped onto the tarmac. The distant roar of jet engines, a familiar, thrilling symphony. At 22, every beat of her heart echoed a dream so audacious, so consuming, it felt like a secret kept even from herself. To own an airline. Today, however, that ambition felt like a fragile whisper against the overwhelming cacophony of reality. In her hand, she clutched a well-worn copy of Airline Economics, its spine cracked, its pages riddled with her frantic margin notes and underlines. The aircraft waiting for her, a small propeller-driven Dash 8 belonging to a little-known regional carrier, felt both a promise of future heights and a stark, humbling reminder of the impossibly long journey ahead. She settled into her window seat, the vinyl cool against her skin, and watched the ground crew busy themselves below. A faint, hopeful smile touched her lips. Every flight was a master class, every takeoff a lesson in physics and human ingenuity. The pre-flight announcements crackled through the cabin, delivered by the captain himself, a man whose booming voice and self-important swagger preceded him. After his formal greetings, he emerged from the cockpit, a towering figure in his crisp uniform, making his way through first class, shaking hands and exchanging hearty laughs. As he approached Lena's row, a sudden surge of courage, fueled by months of quiet yearning, bubbled up. "Captain," she began, her voice a little breathless, but clear, "I just graduated with my degree in aviation management. My dream is to own an airline someday." The captain stopped dead in his tracks. His booming laugh, usually a sound of casual bonhomie, filled the confined space of the cabin. He looked at her, then down at her textbook, his eyes sweeping over, her slender frame lingering for a beat on her dark skin, before a slow, condescending smirk spread across his face. "An airline, huh?" he scoffed, the words laced with dismissive amusement. "That's quite a dream for anyone, really. Sweetheart, stick to flying or maybe ground operations. Owning an airline? That's a man's world, and a rich man's world at that." He chuckled again, a harsh, dismissive sound that seemed to reverberate off the cabin walls, and continued his rounds without another glance. A few passengers nearby, their conversations abruptly halted, exchanged uncomfortable, pitying glances. Lena felt a raw, burning flush creep up her neck, her cheeks hot with humiliation. The whispered dream, her most cherished aspiration, had been exposed, ridiculed, and crushed in the space of a few seconds. She stared down at her textbook, its dense paragraphs blurring through a sudden haze of tears. The cabin, with its recycled air and hushed whispers, felt impossibly small, suffocating. Yet, beneath the stinging shame, something ignited, a tiny defiant spark, bright and unwavering. "He doesn't know me," she thought, clenching her jaw so tightly her teeth ached. "He doesn't know what I'm truly capable of." This was not just a dismissal, it was a challenge. The captain's dismissive laugh, a sound that had echoed with such contempt, didn't fade with the passage of days. Instead, it sharpened, becoming the insistent, driving rhythm beneath Lena's quiet, relentless ambition. It wasn't the first time she'd faced the sting of dismissal, but it was the most public, the most personal, burning itself into her memory. She channeled that raw humiliation, that feeling of being underestimated, into an almost obsessive drive. Upon graduating, instead of seeking a high-profile entry into corporate aviation, she deliberately chose a foundational path. She secured a job as a customer service agent for Frontier Air, a bustling, no-frills regional carrier based in a sprawling hub in the Midwest. The pay was meager, the shifts grueling, often stretching late into the night. But it was a deliberate choice to learn the industry from the ground up. Lena became a sponge, soaking up every nuance of airline operations. She mastered the intricate dance of ticketing systems, the complex choreography of baggage logistics, and the nuanced art of de-escalating irate passengers whose patience had worn as thin as old tarmac. During her meager lunch breaks, she wouldn't join colleagues for casual chatter. Instead, she'd be hunched over industry reports, devouring case studies of airline bankruptcies and miraculous turnarounds. Her nights were spent in online finance and supply chain management courses, powered by lukewarm coffee and an unshakable resolve. Often she'd arrive back at her tiny apartment, near the rumble of departing planes, in the pre-dawn hours, bone-weary, but mentally invigorated. The apartment, Spartan and functional, transformed into her personal war room, its walls adorned with meticulously drawn flowcharts of airline operations, market analysis graphs, and competitive landscapes. Her colleagues, mostly older women who had witnessed countless eager young faces burn out, noticed her tireless dedication. Maria, a seasoned supervisor with a face etched with decades of customer interactions and a heart surprisingly soft beneath her gruff exterior, often stayed late to walk Lena through the intricacies of schedule optimization and crew rotation. "You've got a fire, kid," Maria would often remark, shaking her head in admiration. "Don't you dare let anyone or anything put it out." Lena guarded her ultimate dream fiercely, sharing it with no one. Every small setback at work was a lesson painstakingly absorbed. Every minor logistical puzzle solved was a quiet validation. The captain's scoffing words were meant to clip her wings, to shrink her vision to the size of a regional jet. Instead, they had hardened her resolve, sharpening her focus. She wasn't just working a job, she was meticulously laying the bedrock, brick by painstaking brick, for an empire she knew, deep in her soul, would one day touch the sky. The years that followed blurred into a relentless, almost dizzying ascent. Lena's reputation within Frontier Air quietly, steadily bloomed. Her innate aptitude for problem-solving, coupled with her ferocious work ethic, quickly propelled her from customer service to operations, then to the intricate world of logistics, and eventually, after earning her MBA with honors, into the highly competitive strategic planning department. Her insights were razor-sharp, her proposals meticulously researched, and her ability to dissect complex problems and propose innovative, data-driven solutions made her an increasingly invaluable asset. She became known for her relentless pursuit of efficiency, often being the first to arrive at the office in the quiet pre-dawn hours and the last to leave, her mind still buzzing with figures and forecasts. One of her most significant early achievements was leading a complex initiative to optimize fuel consumption across Frontier Air's aging fleet. Through shrewd negotiation with suppliers and the implementation of new flight path algorithms, she saved the company millions, a feat that earned her quiet admiration from the executive board. Later, she spearheaded a cutting-edge technology upgrade that streamlined passenger check-ins, dramatically reducing wait times and significantly boosting customer satisfaction scores. These successes were not just corporate victories, they were deeply personal validations, each one a silent rebuttal to the captain's dismissive laughter. The aviation industry was a shark tank, dominated by powerful, established figures and deeply entrenched networks. Lena, a young black woman navigating these predominantly white, male-dominated spaces, faced subtle biases and casual dismissals that were often harder to fight than overt discrimination. Her ideas, occasionally overlooked when presented by her, would sometimes gain traction only when a male colleague reiterated them. But she learned to navigate these treacherous waters with an elegant blend of grace, strategic assertiveness, and an unwavering belief in her own capabilities. She meticulously built alliances, cultivated mentors who recognized her raw talent, and honed her communication skills to be undeniably clear, concise, and compelling. She became known not for loudness, but for her quiet determination, her meticulous preparation, and her unwavering commitment to empirical data. Around her, smaller airlines struggled, some teetering on the precipice of bankruptcy, their once proud liveries fading. Frontier Air itself, while stable, faced increasing pressure from behemoths like American and Delta. Lena, however, saw not despair but profound opportunity. She began discreetly exploring potential acquisitions, sketching out audacious, revolutionary plans in the privacy of her worn leather notebook. She consulted with a small, trusted circle of financial advisors, quietly building a robust network of contacts in the private equity and investment banking worlds. The captain's mocking laugh was no longer a stinging echo. It was a faint, almost distant memory, replaced by the hushed respect of her colleagues and the ever-increasing weight of grander responsibility. She wasn't just dreaming anymore. She was meticulously orchestrating. The vast, limitless sky, once a symbol of her seemingly impossible ambition, was slowly, purposefully becoming her domain. The news ricocheted through the aviation industry with the force of a sonic boom. Phoenix Air, a once respected regional airline, long teetering on the brink of insolvency with its aging fleet and precarious financial state, was being acquired. The buyer was an enigma, a newly formed, unknown entity named Ascension Group. Speculation ran rampant across trade journals and industry forums. Who was behind this audacious, stealthy move? Was it a larger competitor, a private equity firm, or a shadowy foreign investor? The acquisition was executed with startling swiftness, decisive and remarkably quiet. The terms, surprisingly generous to Phoenix Air's struggling creditors, not only prevented a complete collapse, but also saved thousands of jobs, a rare win-win in a cutthroat market. Behind the carefully constructed veil of the newly formed holding company, Lena worked tirelessly, her days blending into nights, fueled by adrenaline and years of preparation. Ascension Group was her brainchild, painstakingly brought to life after years of meticulous financial planning, shrewd strategic investments, and the critical backing of a visionary private equity fund manager who believed implicitly in her audacious vision. Phoenix Air, with its established route network and existing infrastructure, was not just a dying company. It was the perfect, albeit challenging, foundation for her dream. She envisioned a complete overhaul, a radical transformation incorporating new, fuel-efficient aircraft, cutting-edge digital technology, a renewed focus on employee morale, and a customer service philosophy built on genuine care and innovation. It was a monumental undertaking, fraught with risk and immense pressure, but Lena, now the undisputed CEO of Ascension Group, embraced it with a fierce, unwavering determination. Months later, the rebranded Airline, now gleaming with a vibrant new livery and named Horizon Sky, was ready for its grand unveiling. A major press conference was scheduled at the sprawling, newly renovated hangar that had once belonged to Phoenix Air. The space, once dusty and forgotten, now gleamed under powerful spotlights, showcasing a newly acquired state-of-the-art regional jet. Industry titans, skeptical journalists, and thousands of Horizon Sky employees gathered, a palpable buzz of anticipation filling the cavernous space. They were all eager to finally meet the mysterious new owner. Lena, poised and radiating quiet authority in a sharp, impeccably tailored suit, stepped onto the podium. The flashes of 100 cameras momentarily blinded her, and the murmurs of the immense crowd hushed to a whisper. She began to speak, her voice strong, clear, and confident, outlining her bold vision for Horizon Sky, a vision rooted in innovation, sustainability, and an unparalleled customer experience. As she meticulously detailed the plans for the new fleet and the renewed focus on employee well-being, a familiar face in the crowd, among a group of veteran pilots invited out of courtesy, caught her eye. It was him, the captain from that fateful flight years ago. He was older now, his face more lined, but the condescending smirk was unmistakably the same as he leaned in to whisper something to a colleague, perhaps another dismissive comment about the ambition of another sweetheart in a world he still considered his own. He hadn't recognized her. Not yet. The moment of reckoning was approaching. The press conference concluded to a respectful, though somewhat reserved applause followed, by a predictable flurry of rapid-fire questions from the assembled journalists. As Lena prepared to step away from the podium, the moderator, a well-known aviation journalist with a reputation for insightful questions, held up a hand. "Ms. Hayes," she announced, using Lena's formal title, her voice amplified by the hangar's acoustics. "Before we wrap up, many are curious about your personal journey. What precisely inspired you to take on such a monumental challenge in this incredibly tough industry?" Lena paused, the question hanging in the air. Her eyes, calm and knowing, swept slowly over the vast crowd. She looked directly at the section where the veteran pilots stood, their faces a mixture of curiosity and vague unease. The captain, whose features had slowly shifted from detached amusement to a dawning recognition, now stood frozen, his face paling visibly as the impossible realization crashed over him. His eyes widened, a flicker of disbelief giving way to a profound, sickening horror. A faint, almost imperceptible smile touched Lena's lips, a smile born not of malice, but of profound satisfaction. "Well," she began, her voice calm but resonant, carrying effortlessly to every corner of the vast hangar, "my dream of owning an airline began many, many years ago. I was a young woman, fresh out of my aviation management program, brimming with ambition. I happened to be on a regional flight, very much like the ones Phoenix Air used to operate. And I distinctly remember telling the pilot of that flight, quite earnestly, about my dream." She paused, letting the silence stretch, allowing the captain's palpable discomfort to fill the void. Her gaze locked with his for a long, quiet moment, not with anger or vengeance, but with the quiet, unassailable power of ultimate triumph. "He laughed," she continued, her voice gaining strength, the words measured and deliberate. "He dismissed it as a man's world, something entirely beyond my reach, beyond my capacity. He probably doesn't remember that brief interaction, but I assure you, I do." The silence in the hangar was absolute now, all eyes fixed on Lena. "That laugh," she declared, her voice rising to fill the enormous space, "became the fuel that powered every single late night, every seemingly insurmountable challenge, every single step of this arduous journey. It became a solemn promise to myself that I would not only achieve my dream, but I would build an airline that valued every single person, an airline that empowered talent, regardless of who they are or where they came from." A ripple of murmurs, quickly escalating into a thunderous, spontaneous applause, erupted through the crowd. The sound was deafening, a wave of affirmation that washed over the stunned captain. Photographers frantically captured his ashen, stunned expression. Lena then concluded, her voice soaring above the applause. "Today, as the CEO and owner of Horizon Sky, I want to say this to everyone. Never, ever let anyone tell you your dreams are too big or that you don't belong in certain spaces. Sometimes, the greatest motivation, the most potent fuel for your journey, comes from those who try the hardest to hold you back." Later, as Lena walked through the gleaming hangar, surrounded by her newly acquired fleet and her dedicated team, she saw the captain. He approached her slowly, his shoulders slumped, his face a canvas of shame, awe, and perhaps a hint of regret. "Ms. Hayes," he mumbled, his voice a mere whisper, a shadow of its former booming self. I am truly sorry. I was profoundly wrong." Lena looked at him, not with bitterness, but with a profound, quiet dignity that bespoke years of battles, won and dreams realized. "It's okay, Captain," she said, her smile now genuine, devoid of any mask. "You taught me a valuable lesson that day. You taught me the true power of perseverance. And for that, I thank you." She then turned, her stride confident, resolute, towards the future she had meticulously built, a future where the sky was not just a place to fly through, but a boundless domain she now truly owned.